Welcome to Creatively Exposed, a podcast and safe space for Black and marginalized creatives to empower, educate, and uplift you through the final product of self and creation. Bring a homie, share with a homie, and enjoy the show.
Hey y'all, this is Liz Flo. Welcome back to Creatively Exposed. I am again recording from my phone because your girl is tired. And I won't be too long, even though I always say that and it ends up being like 30 minutes. Let's talk about self-rejection for a second. Because especially writers, especially my loving, adoring poets, why do you feel that your writing or your creations aren't good enough? Who told you they weren't besides yourself and the lies that your brain tells? Who said you weren't good enough to submit to all of these things, besides the ridiculous amount that it is to pay entry fees for some of these magazines and some of these contests? Because of course, you know, magazines for the most part can be thankless work. It can be free work that people are volunteering to do for the love of the craft. So if people are volunteering their time to read slush piles, which basically means hella poems, hella stories, to choose for their magazine for the sheer love of the work, why are you self-rejecting? And this is me to me, really, because I literally submitted something for the first time today. And I'm telling you, since beginning of the year, sometime, let's say first quarter if you want to be mathy. And beforehand, it's like, I don't know if this is even going to be good. I don't know if this is my best work. I don't know if X, Y, Z. And it's like, you know what I wasn't thinking about last year? If my work was good enough for all of these publications. And that's where I've gotten the most published. So, you know, for anyone who has a contest that ends like tomorrow or next week, I have self-rejected myself out of fellowships that I should have, that I even to this day regret not entering. Just off of the bullshit notion of like, look at who's submitting and should I even? Let us not lie to ourselves anymore. The very fact that you are creating in any way, shape, or form, especially if it's consistently, especially if you are taking courses. Like, I've taken L's this week. I ain't even gonna trip. I ain't even gonna lie. I've taken some L's and I'm just like, oh, that hurt my pride a little bit. But what closed doors or no's or cancellations really mean is, do this shit a different way. Change the perception. Change the intention. Go harder about this thing in a different space. If they decline, out of the hundreds, they actually read your work. Ooh, and that's another thing. Now that we are on this topic, me, myself, and we, you'll never know who will read your work and what opportunity may come with it. I'm saying read because I'm a writer and that is my work of choice. But this applies to anybody and everybody that's out here doing whatever it is. I speak to creatives, but if you have been here a while, creatives are anybody who is looking to figure out how to thrive in this raggedy earth ball that we are on. In any way, shape, or form, as long as you are passionate about it, then you too are a creative. And if you hate where you're at, but you're still figuring out ways how to rise above, then this is for you too. Go hard. Be intentional about what you're doing. Give it your best shot. And if it don't go through, you never know what other door could open. Because that one person read your work and was like, wait a minute. I know somebody who. These are the ways your name walks in places that you don't even know that you're in. Respond to those decline emails with kindness, because somewhere, someone, paid or unpaid, has looked at your work. And maybe they enjoyed it, but it just didn't fit. Maybe they didn't enjoy it, but it opened up a perception. Maybe there was an argument over it. And still, we don't know. It doesn't mean that anything is in vain. Just means find a different door in the hallway of possibility and go through all them motherfuckers if you have to. If you believe in what you're doing, especially your creative works, tweak it, edit it, go back, ask for somebody to read it that maybe even isn't a writer. You know, you can have people who aren't writers but are readers and are like, wait a minute, but I don't understand this. Or there is a big old plot hole right here, right? What happened? How did Taraji get on the boat? You know what I'm saying? So it is hard to believe sometimes that we are worthy of our accomplishments, that we are worthy of sitting in rooms, but you don't know that until you say, oh, I'm gonna sit here and see what happens. Oh, I'm gonna give myself the opportunity to have my name in this room. You won't know. And even if you don't get there, it might just be a reroute. Maybe you gotta do a yield and then a left turn, or a U-turn to end up at the same place or farther. So the worst thing that can happen is that somebody says no. And maybe they just don't see your vision the way you see it. Sometimes you try to fit this huge thing into a small space. And they're like, nah, this isn't hitting because it needs to take up all of its space. It deserves the novel. It deserves the really huge canvas. It deserves more, just like you do. Do it scared, do it nervous, do it shaking. If it's something that you feel will get you closer to who you want to be. So, what is it? Veni, Vidi, Vici. I came, I saw, I conquered. Even if conquering is the fear, just do that. Sometimes out of not doing something for so long, for example, like me submitting, I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to send my submissions in. I'm going to dig up some of these poems that I've been writing and send it into these magazines. Maybe it'll find a home. Maybe it won't. And that is okay. And that is okay. I'm going to keep going. So, that is mostly my thought. Just felt like it was reoccurring too much, and I've kind of been self-sabotaging in the way that I've rejected my work. And like, how dare I reject myself? Right? Like, why not me? And I think that's also part of it. It's the asking back, the whole, there's multiple people in my head. I don't know about y'all, but like, there is the criticizer, there's the person that minimizes and picks at and all of that, and then there's the defiant one that's like, but why not? What's the worst thing that can happen? Explain. And that's also a thing, it's also one of the tools that I get from therapy is like, all right, what is the best possible outcome? What is the worst possible outcome? Then from those two, make a happy medium, which is probably more realistic. Maybe they'll say yes, but we'd like to put some edits here. So, not all L's are for you to like lay down and just give up. Some of them is like, I'm gonna take a nap, be in my feelings, and then reconfigure this, because that means it was meant for another way. It don't mean things don't hurt. It just means after it hurts, we leave the wound open with the little, what is it? I don't know. The healing oily thing that also lets your skin breathe. Ointment, Jesus. All right. Put ointment on it, let it air out, and find another way. So this is my mini-sode. I didn't want to leave y'all with absolutely nothing, even though I have been tired, but it's okay. This is one step towards believing in the possibility that your wildest dreams are real. It's fighting until you are no longer screaming in the void. It's revising, it's repitching, it's reconfiguring, it's pivoting, and it's also moving forward. Period. Sometimes we gotta step back, not as a loss of the levels that we are in, as in pa coger impulso. What does that mean? When you're about to think of if being in a pool, right? And if you look at the Olympians or whatever, they put their feet on the edge of the pool. Why? Because the edge, they got to move back to then be propelled forward. And that is what I mean. Coger impulso. Gain that propulsion. We're using Spanglish. To move forward. Sometimes not feeling inspired is also that we're placing so many expectations